Want to win more games? Build confidence into your playstyle. Here's how. With any skill in life, having more confidence can dramatically increase the likelihood of favorable results. Confidence translates very well with mental and physical skills. When it comes to video games such as first-person shooters, your confidence when engaging the enemy, making the right tactical decisions, or just plain believing in yourself, that makes a huge difference in the long run. Now, I know video games may not seem like quite the physically demanding task. Well, maybe unless you're playing on the Nintendo Switch. But in reality, there's a lot happening on the physical and mental side of things. First-person shooters have been around a long time now, and I've literally grown up with them since the days of Doom on shareware. I hear a lot of older gamers tend to blame their lack of ability to keep up or compete on the fact that their reflexes or twitch timing have dulled. They've slowed down. I don't really think that's it. I mean, if you're a boxer, sure, your muscles will start to slow down with age, but you're going to be plenty fast well into your 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. I've seen some older fighters move like lightning, and when we're playing video games, for the majority of us, we're just talking about how fast your fingers, hands, or arm muscles are. Then we're factoring in how fast your brain is processing what you see and translating that into taking action. And really, that's something trainable since not a whole mess of physical exertion is actually required. The territory we're really crossing into is muscle memory. Something happens on screen, your fingers immediately take the appropriate action, hitting the right keys or buttons to react and get the desired result. It sounds simple because really it is. The difference is practicing that muscle memory. If you played fighting games, you'd be in the training lab practicing long sequences of button presses to pull off the best combinations. We're doing that on a smaller scale with shooters, so the more you stay conscious of what actions you're taking in regards to what your opponent is doing, you'll be able to analyze where you went wrong. I remember playing Quake 3, having my trusty rocket launcher in hand and firing some rockets near the enemy's feet. Trying to slightly be more direct with the rockets too, for full damage instead of splash damage. Well, my opponent strafed into a wall, meaning he just kind of moved right into it as he pressed forward and made his way toward me. I thought surely he's going to strafe away from the wall, so I'll keep firing slightly to his left where he'd have to go. Well, he never strafed left. He hugged that wall and continued to move forward on me, knowing I'd miss or barely hit him with what should have been two crucial rockets. And then he was able to take advantage, close the gap, and secure the kill. I'll never forget that because it taught me a valuable lesson about intention. I was going off autopilot, but he played me like a fiddle. He knew I'd go for what seemed like the obvious shot, and he did the opposite. That's an old school bamboozle right there. So I picked myself up, learned from that failure, and was more intentional with my movement. So much so that I continued doing that to others for years. I'd make people miss railgun shots, rockets, having shotguns and snipers miss me in games like Call of Duty and Destiny 2. Now, it is slightly tougher to see what you did wrong or what you could have done better when weapons are hitting you almost instantly like the R99. I mean, where did you go wrong when all that guy had to do was put his crosshair somewhere over your body for a few seconds and you were knocked? This is where the repetition comes into play. Because most gamers will immediately blame it on their aim, like, man, if I had better aim, surely I would have won that fight. Well, maybe, but it was also most likely how you engaged. What was your positioning? Who got the first shot off? What weapon did you have? And how were you moving in general? I think most people forget that your movement directly affects your aim. Like my buddy Infobiter says, you have to learn to aim with your feet. That means you put the crosshair on someone's face, pull the trigger, and strafe left or right accordingly to keep the crosshair locked on the person. If they're strafing to your left, you can strafe left with them to keep the crosshair pinned. Or if you feel more confident with your ability to keep the crosshair locked, you can counter strafe to throw them off. Or do like a combination of both. There are so many options, and that's where I liken shooters to fighting games. You just have to pull off the right combination at the right time. It's a timing issue, not a speed or an aiming issue. Another buddy of mine was discussing with me what we think is different now that we're a bit older. Like I said before, the first thing I hear people say who are no longer in their teens or early 20s is that age is is what killed their gameplay, their twitch motions or ability to aim. As we discussed it, my friend shared a theory with me, and he said that he didn't think it was our aim at all. I mean, our stats say our aim is actually on point. The game is tracking that for us. He said he believed it was our confidence. When we were teenagers and the shooting genre was still in its infancy, we didn't really think about what we were doing tactically, or at least we didn't overanalyze a situation. Instead, we just went to the enemy. And as he would say, we would rage the face. There was no overthinking a situation. We just went to the enemy, brought our skills to the table, and we played our game plan and stuck to it. There's a saying in professional sports that prevent defense prevents championships. Essentially, that means what you did to get ahead, you stopped doing. You changed your game plan to play it safer, and you stopped kind of taking all the risks. So that way you could just maintain a lead. Now, sometimes this works, but there's also plenty of instances where this doesn't, and you end up writing a comeback story for the other person instead of a textbook performance of how you dominated. So mentally, it's important to remember that if you're capable of securing the kill or taking the lead, that you just keep that edge. Whenever you have the advantage, keep it, take another advantage, and gain more ground. Anytime you stop to overanalyze or make sure you're not going to make a dumb mistake, it's just time you're giving back to the enemy to make up ground, heal, recover, and get back into the fight. Think of it this way. In Apex, if someone blasts away all your shields, what do you typically want to do? What's your playstyle? Most people, myself included, are thinking, hey, I need to shield up, which could mean you run, find cover, shield, then think about re-engaging. I've watched some of the better players out there shield up too, they just did it while they were still on the way to the enemy. So by the time they got there, they were almost at full shield and in the position they wanted to be in to win the fight. That's a huge mental and positional advantage. So if your natural tendency is to shield up and maybe find cover, what do you think your opponent is doing when you get some shots off on them? Maybe that's your time, your chance to catch them while they're shielding, close the distance, and finish them off. That mental edge or absolute confidence in winning the fight could potentially put you in the better position to get the shot off first and finish the person, all while they're just trying to cover and shield. Confidence takes practice, and the tactic I described above may not always work out, especially when they have squad mates to cover them. If you watch or play with players that get higher kill counts or damage numbers in a match, you'll notice the majority are always closing the distance, even if they're sniping. Furthermore, you're making it easier on yourself to land your shots when you're closer to the enemy, instead of firing from further out. Just remember what I said. Confidence takes practice. You have to be okay with failure. Failure is your friend. Every time you lose, die, or get shot up, it's an opportunity to reflect on what you did and do it better next time. You're always learning two things: what to do and what not to do. If you can't do that while you're in the middle of playing a match, and many can't really, so record your gameplay. Watch it back later. Because of the videos I create, I watch back a lot of my gameplay, and I notice things from decision making needing improvement to needing to change my sensitivity by 0.2. What is a certainty is if you keep up with practicing this confidence, consistency and intention will take you very far. Be intentional about where you decide to move. Be intentional about where your position is relative to the enemy. You know, we talked about this in a previous video. You potentially will want to take the high ground. You potentially will want to be on the flank. You'll potentially want to put yourself in the best scenarios possible. Doing these little tweaks here and there, maybe having some of the better gear going into the fight, this will give yourself that mental edge. This will give you that competitive advantage. If you keep practicing these ideas and you start kind of understanding that you are building that mental edge, your confidence will skyrocket. And that's when you'll have started to build even more confidence into your playstyle. I'm super appreciative of you guys being here and listening to my thoughts. I hope this helped you. I'm 100% grateful to you all for taking the time to watch my videos. If you give it a thumbs up, leave a comment with some feedback, that greatly helps me and helps me improve my confidence. If any of this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more. And if you want to stay in touch with me, add me on Twitter at ImageOmega. That's where I stay active in the community and post a lot of different smaller gameplay clips. Starting this content creator journey is a blessing, and I'm happy to be here with you all. So thank you so much, legends. That's it from me, and I'll see you guys next time.